Malaysian football achieved a significant milestone on 26th of September when the AFC announced the nominees for its annual AFC Awards 2025. For Johor Darul Takzim and Malaysian winger Arif Aiman Hanapi became the first ever Malaysian to be nominated for the prestigious Player of the Year award alongside Qatar stalwart Akram Afif and Saudi Arabia captain Salim Al Dasari. And with this unique achievement, the first ever accorded to a Malaysian, the 23-year-old became the first local to achieve this particular milestone and has become only the second Southeast Asian player to reach this level of individual achievement since now retired Thai midfield general Desak Chaiman achieved the same accolade in 2003. And he and Arif was rewarded for an exceptional 2024-25 season where he helped the Southern Tigers achieve the Malaysian treble of the Malaysian Super League, Piala Malaysia and Piala FA Malaysia, and was the main force behind their progression into the round of 16 for only the second time in the club's history in Asian club competition. And for that particular campaign, Arif became the standout player in the first season where there are no import quotas in Asian club competition. And in spite playing alongside many foreign players in the Johor Darul Takzim starting 11 for the campaign, Arif has proven to be an ever-present in the team as he top scored for the club with 5 goals and provided 2 assists as he played in every minute of their involvement in the competition. That includes, and those 10 games include the 0-1 away defeat to Shantou Taishan of China, which was later annulled due to its refusal to play in the final group game in South Korea. Still, nonetheless, this was the main reason why Arif Aiman has been nominated for this prestigious AFC Player of the Year award, mainly for his outstanding performance in Asian club football last season, where he almost single-handedly steered the Southern Tigers into the knockout stages of the competition. And at only just 23 years old, Arif has achieved plenty in his professional career since he made his first team debut for the Southern Tigers as an 18-year-old in 2020. He has already won at the domestic level 5 successive Malaysian Super League titles, a few Malaysian Cups and Malaysia FA Cups, as well as a handful of Piala Subansings or the Sultan Ahmad Shah Cup. And on the individual level in Malaysian club football, he has now already won the Player of the Year for 4 seasons in a row, for 4 times in a row, ever since he made history as the youngest player to become the Malaysian Super League's most valuable player at the precocious age of 19 years old. And having been through initially at the Mukhtar Dahari Football Academy and as well as the National Football Development Program, it was his move down south to Johor that saw him make the rapid ascension from just another young player to become the ultimate local superstar in Malaysian club football today. Tanya Jia dissects what has gone quite right for him that leads him to achieve this unique Asian milestone for Malaysian football as a whole and has emerged to become the first ultimate Malaysian football superstar in a few decades ever since the days of the late Mukhtar Dahari and as well as the classes of 1972 and 1980, who brought Malaysia to qualify for both Olympic Games, beating beating the giants of the continent along the way in those successful qualification campaigns. As I mentioned at the start of this conversation, I've already mentioned about Arif Aiman achieving so much at such a young age and having had such a phenomenal 2024-25 season. And in fact, last season alone, he has had his most successful domestic and continental club campaign to date, when he made a total of 42 appearances in all club competitions in Malaysia and the wider Asia. And in those 42 games, he netted a total of 19 goals and recorded 15 assists, a unique double double when it comes to Malaysian club football, even for over and a consistently achieving team in Johor. And even in the galaxy of foreigners in Johor's first team, Arif Aiman has stood out as the shining beacon for the club, for his ability to not just deliver the crosses to make runs down the final third, especially in his favourite right wing position, but also to find the pockets of spaces to be an effective threat up front, scoring loads of goals for club and country. And already in this ongoing 25-26 season, he has already done quite a lot this year, in this calendar year alone, for on whenever he was called upon, whether it's to play for the red and blue of JDT or the yellow and black of Harimau Malaya. For the ongoing 25-26 campaign, he has already made a total of 11 appearances and has scored currently to date 7 goals in all competitions and made 9 assists in the Malaysian Super League. And for this year alone, turning out for Harimau Malaya under head coach Peter Flamowski, he has already played a total of 9 matches, including all 4 games in the Asian Cup qualifying, where Malaysia currently top Group F with 4 wins in as many games and are still on course to progress for a second successive Asian Cup finals in Saudi Arabia 2027. And that is whether that is as far as at the time of when this video is made, notwithstanding whether there will be any further retrospective action towards the end of this qualifying campaign because of the FIFA documentation scandal. But still, he has had quite a good year as well, playing for Malaysia, recording in 7 games a total of 1 goal and 3 assists. All the goals and assists were all attained during the competitive games where he was turning out for the yellow and black of Harimau Malaya. So, with such a consistent output on the pitch and his elevation, particularly in the AFC Champions League elites, in the era where there are no limits on foreign players, where clubs can legitimately field 11 foreign-born players on the pitch in their starting 11, Arif has stood up as one of the few local bonds to shine in Asia's highest level of club competition. 5 goals and 2 assists. Arif was the Southern Tigers' top scorer in Asia, even well ahead of Brazilian overall club top scorer Bergson. It was his ability to find the back of the net against the Chinese and the Korean clubs, and providing the assists in other games as well, particularly 1 assist for Alvaro Gonzalez in the penultimate league stage game against Central Coast Mariners, that has seen him become the leading player for Southern Tigers in Asia last season. And that has made him one of the top starlets of the competition, despite Johor being eliminated in the round of 16 to Buriram United. And his ability to pierce the nets against the finest of which the Chinese and South Korean opponents could offer, especially in the games against both Shanghai clubs, Shanghai Port and Shanghai Shenhua, and in their home games against Pohang Steelers and see Pohang Steelers and Ulsan Hyundai. This was where Arif has shone the brightest when the competition gets higher. In other words, the tougher the competition, the brighter Arif shines. This is how Arif has become the standout, the star player for Johor Darul Takzim, even though they have a galaxy of Spanish-born players, heritage players, and even a few other foreigners in the squad. Whether it was the star striker Bekser who had delivered so many goals for Johor in domestic campaigns, but Arif stood consistently among the best players in the squad, whether it was in Malaysian competitions or in Asia. And for his efforts, especially the output he delivered for Johor Darul Takzim in the ACLE campaign, he deservedly gets that nomination for the AFC Player of the Year award, the most coveted individual award for the AFC Awards night in Saudi Arabia. So, as we talk about it, being proud of Arif Aiman as being the first Southeast Asian in over 22 years to receive this individual accolade, being the best three players. Someone will ask, then what about the other players? What about your other Southeast Asia players? Given that Buriram reached the quarterfinals after eliminating JDT in the round 16, or even your other standout European-based Asian stars such as Lee Kang-in, who helped win the UEFA Champions League with Paris Saint-Germain, or Takefusa Kubo, who has had starring roles for Real Sociedad of Spain and Japan national team. I think let me give a quick short explainer where this is concerned. Because ever since the Asian AFC Asian Player of the Year was first introduced in 1994, the rules have the way Asian football has evolved so much, especially with the export of Asian players to Europe. It is pretty clear that in for a number of years already, AFC has actually separated it into the AFC Player of the Year, which is now mainly based for those who are playing in the Asian leagues, and only those who are born in Asia will qualify, or the AFC Football Conference member associates, that includes Australia, only they can qualify for this award. And for the International Player of the Year for both men and women, this is where you can say that because it's meant for those who have star for their respective European clubs, especially playing in the top European club competitions, but because they are unable, I know it's a rather quirky rule, but because they are unable to attend the awards, AFC awards personally, so thus these special awards have been put aside for them to acknowledge their contributions towards Asian football in a very different way by excelling in other continents outside of Asia, especially in Europe. So, in this regard, this is why you do not see your Lee Kang-in, Song Hyung-min, Mehdi Taramis, Takefusa Kubos being nominated for the AFC Player of the Year. But instead, for quite a number of years already, you will have those who are based in the domestic Asian leagues, who have excelled in Asian club competition, who have been nominated for this award. Still, nonetheless, it's the rules do not take away the pride and the joy Malaysian and Southeast Asian football have in seeing Arif Aiman Hanapi being nominated for the AFC Player of the Year award. Then you will ask about how about the Thais, how about your other domestic players, given that your Japanese, your Koreans, and your Chinese are way above, and even your Thais are way above the Malaysians when it comes to the AFC Champions League elite. That's a Now for quick explain on that. I'll start with the Thais first. The thing about the Thais is while Buriram reached the quarterfinals of the ACLE, the main thrust of their success in reaching this far in Asia's top club competition is down to their imports. That includes Malaysia's national team captain Diong Hus, who, alongside Philippines' English-born goalkeeper New Etheridge and Guilherme Bisoli, these were the main guys who were instrumental in helping the Thai champions reach the last eight of the competition. Then what about the Thais themselves? Tirta Bumantan has been a stalwart, but he's already towards the twilight of his career, so he's not in consideration. Then what about Arif's closest regional rivals, Supana Mutena and Supachai Jaidet? The thing is, they played big part roles in Buriram's rise to become the top 8 clubs in Asia last season. Supachai Jaidet actually did not score a goal in 10 appearances, of which 4 of them came as a substitute. Supana Mutena only managed 2 goals in 4 appearances in the ACLE last season. Then your Japanese, Koreans, and Chinese. Unfortunately for their clubs, it's usually the foreigners like Buriram who provided trust towards their success or failure of their respective continent campaigns in the ACLE. Kawasaki Frontale, the East Asian club that reached the furthest by reaching the final of the ACLE last season, they had Brazilian striker Ericsson, who was signed at the start of this calendar year to provide the bulk of the goals towards it en route to final, with the rest of the goals being shared evenly among the rest. Then your South Koreans also depended a lot on their staff, on their foreigners to do the job. The other Japanese representatives, especially the now Lion City Sailors striker Anderson Lopez, who provided the bulk of Yokohama F Marinos goals. So, and the Chinese clubs, that goes without saying, is like without their foreigners, the locals were not able to do as much. And that makes Arif's achievements and performances in the AFC Champions League elite a lot more exceptional. For it is a Malaysian player a local born player who pulled Johor Southern Tigers to the round of 16. Yes, he can have 10 other foreigners alongside him, but without Arif, Johor really do not look the same. And this is where my next point comes in. Without Arif, Johor, the imports do not exactly perform in the same way. And this is where you can see that Arif is actually the glue that holds the entire JDT squad together on the pitch, because yes, as good as those individual players are, it is Arif that provides the glue. He is the fulcrum, even though he was playing out on the right wing, that has seen Johor become not just the dominant force in Malaysia, but also a rising force in Asia as well. So in last season's AFC Champions League Elite, despite playing in the right wing role, Arif was exceptional in his ability to find the pockets of space that make him such a lethal threat to the top Asian club defenses in the eastern half of this vast continent. It's his ability to take on defenders, his being unafraid to get the better of even the foreign opponents, or your import defenders, but also finding those spaces in the final third, especially inside the box, that allowed him to finish coolly, to provide that the final pass, the final move, or to initiate moves that will lead to Johor scoring as well. This was how effective and lethal Arif was when it comes to operating in the final third in Asia last year. And so much so that subsequently, as he grew more in prominence in Asia, clubs outside of Malaysia began to take notice. Foreign, and they definitely, as we have seen this season, that they have already plotted to see how they could keep Arif as quiet as possible. But as we've seen even this season, not so easy, because while Arif operates mainly on the right, he's also capable of operating on the left and at times in the middle also. So it's the unpredictability of his movement that makes him such an asset. His ability to go around inside the box or on the wings or in the final third, broader wide final third, that leaves defenses guessing what he's going to do next. The unpredictability of his moves, the ability to find space, the ability to find that pass, to initiate the movement, that sets him almost as good as as a decent European level import can offer on a pitch, and that makes him a much more precious player or individual in this Johor Darul Takzin setup compared to how they have been in the past. And the best part, he is usually the only local born player in that starting 11 when it comes to Asia, especially last season. The only local born starter, consistently there, played all the minutes of in Asia, and showed why he and consistently showed that why he was one of the standouts in last season's ACLE campaign. So it's quite clear that with him around, the rest were motivated to play along, to also perform at a level that would be expected, to give the fans, especially at home at Sultan Ibrahim Stadium, hopes that his passing, his movement will be able to lift, especially when they feel under pressure, or they wouldn't feel as comfortable when he was absent on the pitch. And with that nomination actually, he became the first standout local superstar. Yes, that nomination now affirms him as, you can say now, Malaysia's greatest player of the 21st century and the first icon in Malaysian football since the days of Mokhtar Dahari, Sochinan, Santokh Singh, James Wong, or and already superseded what his predecessors before him, the national team stars of the 90s, 2000s, in whether it was Dola Saleh, Zainal Abidin Hassan, or even your Azman Anan, Rusdi Suparman, Akmal Rizal, Ramli Ahli, and or even Indra Putra Mahayudin, or even your Safi Salih, Shafiq Rahim. Arif, with this nomination, has superseded all these iconic names I mentioned. He now, at the age of 23, already sits comfortably among the legends of Malaysian football, alongside the late Mokhtar, the Datuk Sochinan, and Datuk Santokh Singh, among others who have contributed enormously to Malaysia's prominence in Asian football in the 1970s and 1980s. Now Arif joins such illustrious local company, and ever since his nomination was first announced, local experts, past legends, have hailed him as now the role model that young players should aspire to follow. And he's the product of which, in spite of the immense number of foreign players, he has shown that as long as as long as a local born player is of that certain level of capability, that level of technical ability, that level of mental fortitude, that willingness to work hard, to perform, to follow what the coaches, especially the coaches do expect of him, and also that hunger to keep wanting to be better year after year, season after season. Arif Aiman has shown that even in the modern era where foreign imports are the norm, where the heritage and players are the rage, and also the naturalization of the players are there, even with the scandal of the seven of the fake documentation, Arif has consistently shown that Malaysian football has one solid rock that they can look at the brightest of times, at the darkest of times, at the at the mediocre moments. He is now the current standout. He's the legend already at this stage, regardless whether he wins AFC Player of the Year or otherwise. He's now established himself as one of the top eight current Asian players to watch in Asia, if not the world. And for Malaysian football that has been struggling to make its presence felt, only achieving its first qualification in 4 decades in the Asian Cup 2023 finals, having Arif Aiman nominated to be nominated for the AFC Player of the Year is a tremendous milestone, and I personally hope that Malaysian football can build on that level of individual success and to produce more Arif Aimans. Because when Malaysia can produce 100 Arif Aimans in the future, or of that level of excellence, Malaysian football will be in safe hands. Malaysian football will continue to grow, prosper, and even break out into levels of which only the Thais have achieved so far through Chanatip Songkrasin, Tirta Bumantan in the J League, and also to a limited extent Tirasil Dangda, who has actually also played in Europe even though it was for half a year, or even Fandi Ahmad, who played for FC Groningen for 1.5 years in the 1980s and had played in the UEFA Cup. When that next level of having more players of Arif Aiman's attitude and aptitude, Malaysian football will then grow further, and perhaps it will be one day, not too long, where Malaysian football can feel that they can have a team that they can really call their own, that will just be not just one name on the lips of every Malaysian, whether he watches club football or otherwise, or whether he or she only follows European football. This name will be where it will be synonymous with the entire nation, and where he can be regarded as a true hero after the Mokhtar Daharis, Sochin Ounce, and Santok Six. And hopefully, with this individual nomination for AFC Player of the Year, this could be the beginning of something that has already been a rather extraordinary playing career for Arif Aiman. And hopefully, he's able to bring Harimau Malaya into more Asian Cups, having already featured in the 2023 finals in Qatar last year. So, with that milestone, it's also he's now also the standard bearer of individual play excellence for Southeast Asia as well. And still on that, Arif Aiman is not the only Southeast Asian in this 2025 AFC Awards, but also they also have a few Southeast Asian nominees in other categories as well. Thailand has a few nominees in Muhammad Osama Musa being nominated for AFC Futsal Player of the Year. Then we also have Nongrutai Sarah Tongvina, who has now recently come back into the role as the Thai women's national team coach after Futoshi Ikeda of Japan was sacked following a rather dismal ASEAN Women's Championship a few months ago. So she has help the Thai girls win the ASEAN Under 19 Girls Championship. So then you have number of football associations in Southeast Asia being nominated for other awards, such as the Football Association of Thailand, Vietnam Football Federation being nominated for the diamond category in AFC Member Association of the Year, as well as Laos Football Association being nominated for the Ruby category in the same awards. Then for the AFC Recognition Award for Grassroots Football, the Football Association of Malaysia is nominated for the silver category, while Vietnam is nominated for the bronze categories. But still, all these said and done, yes, unfortunately exclude Australia for now in this, because when I look at Southeast Asia, it's more towards the wider ASEAN region. Now, so but still, in the midst of all these nominations, Arif stands the tallest and the brightest. Even when he does not win the award, it he has already set a new standard where it's very rare for a Southeast Asian male player to reach the final shortlist for the much coveted AFC Player of the Year award. So hopefully one day, when the Southeast Asian national team really achieves or attains the greater continental and perhaps global prominence, then it will be time where we may see eventually a local born Southeast Asian win the Player of the Year award. And we hope that day arrives sooner rather than later during our lifetimes.